We're going to be leading some chants. All right.
When the air we breathe is under attack, what do?
Stand up! Fight back!
When the air we breathe is under attack, what do?
Stand up! Fight back!
When the air we breathe is under attack, what do?
Stand up! Fight back!
When the air
we breathe is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
When the water we drink is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
When the water we drink is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
When the water we drink is under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, inland ports have got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, the inland ports have got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, the inland ports have got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho,
The inland ports have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the inland ports have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, inland ports have got to go. Brine, shrimp, salty water, brine, shrimp, salty water, sacrifice, no longer, nesting grounds, habitat, nesting grounds, habitat, destruction, we will fight back, destruction, we will fight back. Hard to follow.
nesting grounds, habitat.
Oh my God. Okay, brine, shrimp, salty water,
Brine, shrimp, salty water.
sacrifice, no longer,
Sacrifice no longer.
nesting grounds, habitat,
Nesting grounds, habitat.
destruction, we will fight back.
Destruction, we will fight back.
Brine, shrimp, salty water,
Brine, shrimp, salty water.
sacrifice, no longer,
Sacrifice no longer.
nesting grounds, habitat,
Nesting grounds, habitat.
destruction, we will fight back.
Destruction, we will fight back.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, the water's got to flow. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the water's got to flow. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the water's got to flow. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the water's got to flow. Ho, ho, hey, hey, Great Salt Lake is our place. Hey, ho, ho, hey, hey, the Great Salt Lake is our place.
Ho, ho.
Hey, hey, Great Salt Lake is our place.
Ho, ho.
Hey, hey, the Great Salt Lake is... It's time to give, not to take. Let's get water to the lake. It's time to give, not to take. Let's get water to the lake. It's time to give, not to take. Let's get water to the lake. It's time to give, not to take. Let's get water to the lake. 4198, act before it's too late. 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 It's time for us to make a change. Save our lake to save our state. It's time for us to make a change. Save our lake to save our state. It's time for us to make a change. Save our lake to save our state. It's time for us to make a change. Save our lake and save our state. It's time to act. It's time to move. Our lake is calling out to you. It's time to act. It's time to move. Our lake is calling out to you. It's time to act. It's time to move. Our lake is calling out to you. It's time to act. It's time to move. Our lake is calling out to you. Thank you. Woo! Thank you.
All right, how's everyone doing? Awesome. I am going to ask you to take out that songbook if I gave it to you in the crowd. And if I did not, we do have an Instagram up. Save Our Great Salt Lake on Instagram has all the lyrics to these songs posted in their first post. Okay. We're going to start off with this first song, Call and Response. I'm going to show you how to sing it with my friend Olivia. And then we'll all do it together 2 more times. Sound good? This is called People Gonna Rise by the Peace Poets. People gonna rise like the water.
People gonna rise like the water.
Gonna calm this crisis down.
We're gonna calm this crisis down.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter
saying, save Great Salt Lake now.
saying, save Great Salt Lake now.
Okay, now everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, save Great Salt Lake now. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, save Great Salt Lake now. Woo!
Welcome. Thank you, Autumn and Sophie, for leading us in those chants. Autumn and Sophie are high school students who frequently lead actions on behalf of Great Salt Lake and climate justice. Yes. And they're part of a great uprising of youth leadership. So a cheer for that. Youth leadership for Great Salt Lake. My name is Nan Seymour. I use pronouns she and her. I'm a poet and a vigil keeper for Great Salt Lake on purpose. And by accident, I'm also a puppeteer now as part of this Making Waves for Great Salt Lake Artist Collaborative, where I work with Sarah May and Therese Berry, who are the true visionaries behind all these puppets, all this public art. Yeah. All these waves and the species that are surrounding us, and then also, the banners that were made last year by many hands. There's hundreds of hands on this art, so the artists here really already witnessing for Great Salt Lake, and thank you so much for everyone who put that together. I'm really grateful to serve as Master of Ceremonies today. But before I begin, I really would like to address the lake directly, and to prepare for that, I want to invite you to join me in spirit, if not in word, and we'll also close in a similar way with an address to the lake. And for that, there are words, but we'll get there soon. For now, I just want to invite you to take a deep breath and really find your felt connection with the earth below us, the sentient, singing earth. And you can kind of drop the roots of your attention into that alive ground with a gratitude for being held unconditionally, which is how the earth holds us. And then I want to invite you to actually take your face to the sky. Take in the clouds that are part of the water cycle, which is part of the lake and the life, and we're part of the water cycle too. And then you can also imagine, or maybe bring into your vision in a way, the migrations, the ribbons of migrations, the trails that go all the way from the tundra through Great Salt Lake and down to Argentina, Mar Chiquita, 12 million birds. Imagine the flight paths of 12 million birds. And here we are under that glory. And then while you've got your face to the sky and your feet rooted to the earth, you might actually feel for the way we can make ourselves a conduit for the love letters between earth and sky. What does that feel like in your body? And then to open your heart, and you might even turn to the west and bring Great Salt Lake into your vision, into your felt sense, the great center of this bioregion. And I'm going to address, my next remarks are for the lake. Maker of beauty, shaper of landscape, beloved water body, Piapa, mi madre, dost, fierce protector, imperiled neighbor, sky mirror, ocean daughter, mentor, midwife, grandfather, ceaseless singer, courage bringer, dear companion, center, source, irreplaceable refuge, great heart, origin, home. You are a creator, not a commodity, the center, not a periphery. You are a sentient and ever-singing ancestor. Your life is inseparable from our own. We honor your inherent rights to live, flourish, and be replenished. We honor the entirety of your sovereign body, your wetlands, your tributaries, what we call the North Arm. We are here to repair the harms we have done. We honor not only your life, but all of the lives you sustain, phalaropes and microbialites, pronghorn and pelicans, brine shrimp, bison, and the brine flies that returned from the brink of collapse when you called in the winter. Great Salt Lake, we are gathered here today in your service. You beckoned us here, and we came. So here we are together, a lake-facing people at last. Thank you, Great Salt Lake, for bringing us out. Cheer, lake-facing people. It's great for lake-facing people to cheer each other on. We need each other, don't we? And we're rising to that. We meet each other as citizens of a watershed, grateful participants of a water cycle. We meet as people determined to replenish the sea. And you know, some of us may not be around for 30 more years, so what do you say? Let's do it in a decade instead. Right? It's doable. All right, so this land that we just found ourselves on, this real place, it's the lake bed of Great Salt Lake. Yesterday in geological time, the water was above the top of the Capitol, and you could part the curtains of time and just imagine it. This is the wave-made world. Here we are in it together. And this land that we're standing on is the ancestral and unceded land of Ute, Paiute, Goshute, and Northwestern Band of Shoshone people. Yes. All the tribes in this place we call Utah have a sacred relationship with Great Salt Lake. And Indigenous people are the spiritual and ethical leaders of this movement, exemplars of kinship, reciprocity, resilience, and reverence. And we're greatly blessed today by the presence of 3 Indigenous leaders who will be speaking to us today. Yeah. We're really so grateful. And may we allow ourselves to be changed by what they have come here to say. And we came here to listen and learn. So before I introduce the speakers, I'm just going to give 2 invitations. One is about listening. There's a rare way of listening that is so beautiful to participate in, and it's giving the gift of your undivided attention. And this is just a little tip. It has something to do with the decisions you make regarding your phone. So I just want to invite us as these wonderful speakers, this amazing group of teachers and leaders, speak to us today to just really bring the gift of our undivided attention and our presence to them. Also, a thing about learning that's so interesting, something that's said about great teachers is that they disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. And so I bet both of those things will happen for everyone here today. And I just want to invite us to lean in, especially when you feel that part that might be disturbing the comfortable. It means our capacities are growing, we're learning, we're listening to someone whose experience we haven't had. And it's really an awesome opportunity. So I'm glad we have that here together today. And before I introduce our very first speaker, and we're just there, I do want to acknowledge Virgil Johnson, who is an educator, activist, and member of the Confederated Tribes of the Goshute Reservation. And he was coming to offer a blessing, and there was some confusion about the time that was inevitably my fault. He was here at noon with his blessing and his presence, and he's a great leader, and so I just want to thank him for maybe coming before us and offering blessing and presence, and I hope we'll have a chance to hear from him soon. Meanwhile, our dear friend, teacher, author, storyteller, former chairman of the Shoshone Nation, Darren Perry, will be our first speaker. And he grew up, yes, please cheer for Darren Perry. We're so glad to have Darren here. He grew up listening to the oral stories about the importance of Great Salt Lake from his grandmother, Mayton Bimbu Perry, and such a great influence and ancestor. And Darren, thank you so much.
Imagine for a minute, maybe even close your eyes, but imagine a world where our leaders respected everybody's point of view, where the most marginalized among us had a voice. Imagine a world where our leaders thought about 7 generations ahead when they made decisions. Imagine a world where the air and water are clean and pure. A world where nature, or who my grandmother called our non-human kinfolk, had a voice. That's the world of my ancestors, the Native American people who called this valley home. I've been thinking a lot about the journey we're on. And I had a conversation the other day with a good friend who happens to be a professor in the business college. And I said to him, you know, the path that we're on, this capitalistic path, is not sustainable. And we need to reimagine how we do business going forward if we're ever going to have a chance. And he said, oh yeah, what does that look like to you? And I said, look, I'm smart enough to know that the system is not going to allow us to get rid of capitalism. But I said, what if we do this? What if we start injecting values into this capitalistic system? Just because we can look at that piece of property over there and say we can extract it, deplete it, destroy it, or, heaven forbid, develop it. Maybe we ought to start asking ourselves, should we? And at what cost to the future? We need to start putting costs on polluting our air, a dollar cost. We need to put a dollar cost on water pollution. We need to put a cost on the things that our economy doesn't measure. And then, when you go to do a project, factor in all of your costs. Factor in what it costs to cut down the tree that removes carbon from our air. Start factoring in all those costs that we never measure, and then see if that development is worth doing. That's how we need to reimagine going forward. Start adding values to everything that we do. I want you to remember 2 things, and then I'm going to be quiet. I want to hear the other leaders. Remember that all things are connected, everything. What you do here matters over here. The other thing I want you to remember is all the science in the world won't make up for our selfish behaviors. Before I leave, my grandmother, I grew up on the shores of the Great Salt Lake. Our creation story started at Antelope Island. I know the plants. I know their songs. But my grandmother would sing me this song before we left every time. And she called it a healing song. And it goes like this. Hey, hey, na, hey, 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 na, hey, 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 ya, na, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, hey, ya, na, hey, ya. What gives me hope is how many youth I see here today. This is your fight. This is your future. And we adults will stand by you and push you and help you and do everything we can to make a change, because we have to make a change. Be active, be political, run for office, and vote. Vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you for sharing your grandmother's song. How beautiful. Our next speaker is Izzy Kachatourian, a 16-year-old and a junior at Skyline High School with deep roots in Utah, and her passion for saving Great Salt Lake was born from a recognition that the future of Utah and the future of her home depend on Great Salt Lake. And she believes in the power of youth to be part of the solution, invites all youth to join her in this effort. Thank you, Izzy.
Thank you. Look at everyone here who cares about Great Salt Lake. Thank you all so much for being here. It's such an honor. My name is Izzy Kachatourian, and I am 16 years old. I have my whole future to look forward to. My future, like all of ours, is intricately connected to the future of Great Salt Lake. The future of the lake is the future of our economy, the future of millions of migratory birds, the future of our health and the air we breathe. We cannot separate it from our own. We are one, and we must protect our future now. The future may be uncertain, but we each play a role. I urge you to take advantage of this opportunity. If you are young like me, you are a majority stakeholder. There is power in your voice and in your actions. You can bring about change. Great Salt Lake's future is your future, and we must protect our future now. If you are young like me, it may feel intimidating to get involved, but you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to take that first step. I care about Great Salt Lake because I care about my future, our future. We cannot afford to fail. Our involvement in this issue is empowering. I am listening to you. We are listening to you. So speak up and let your voice be heard. If you are young like me, let me hear you say, protect our future now. Our future now. But my generation alone will not save Great Salt Lake. To the generations before me, you have power that the youth do not have. You too can be part of a cultural change that values sustainability. You too can do the work to preserve our greatest resources. Not only can you do these things, but we need you to. And it is your duty to protect our future now. All of us have a role to play. If you have great power, you have great responsibility, and we are calling on you to protect our future now. There is hope, but hope is not something you have. It is something you create with your actions. The enemy of hope is complacency, and scientists tell us the lake could collapse in as little as 5 years. We absolutely cannot wait to take action. Hope is also a discipline that relies on our ability to plan, organize, and execute the steps to reach our goals, especially when obstacles arise. Hope is your commitment to your future, our future, the future of Great Salt Lake, the future of our home. The decisions we make now will shape our future, and we cannot continue to have hope if we don't protect our future now. There is power in youth. Make your voices heard. There is power in community. Work together, value sustainability, and take action. There is power in our collective efforts. Great Salt Lake's future is your future, and it depends on you. We must protect our future now. Say it with me. Protect our future now. Protect our future now. Protect our future now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Izzy. One more cheer for Izzy. Beautiful. Hope is a discipline. Hope is a discipline. Our next speaker is Dr. Courtney Henley, who serves on the board of Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment. UPH is committed, so committed, to protecting the health and well-being of residents of Utah by promoting science-based education and interventions that result in progressive, measurable improvements to the environment. Great Salt Lake is our environment, so community and government in action to reverse her deterioration is of tremendous concern to UPH, and we're so grateful, Dr. Courtney Henley, for your voice today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nan, and thank you, Izzy. That's a really tough act to follow. That was amazing. I won't be able to match that, but I will try. The Renaissance physician Paracelsus is credited with saying, "The art of healing comes from nature, not from the physician. Therefore, the physician must start from nature with an open mind." The intertwining of healing and nature is an idea that we can celebrate today as we rally to save Great Salt Lake. With an open mind, we can see clearly that our personal health and our community health depend not just upon revolutionary medicines and state-of-the-art technology. Our health depends on the health of Great Salt Lake. Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment is tremendously concerned about the dwindling waters of Great Salt Lake. As the lake recedes, dust storms originating from the exposed lake bed are inhaled by Utahns along the Wasatch Front. Not today, so take a big deep breath. No dust. Feels good. The dust dissolves in the blood and causes inflammation in every body organ. Attacks of the heart, strokes of the brain, spasms of the lungs. Air pollution is the root cause of many serious health problems and makes all health problems worse. Dust from the dried up bed of Great Salt Lake carries extra risk because we have mistreated her for decades with mining, industrial, and agricultural pollutants. Toxic heavy metals, pesticides, and likely radioactive isotopes are inhaled with the dust. The primary threat to Great Salt Lake is the unsustainable amount of water that is channeled away from her body every year. UPHE and fellow advocacy groups have filed a lawsuit against the state of Utah for allowing too much water to be diverted from Great Salt Lake, thus yay, lawyers. So we've filed a lawsuit against the state for diverting too much water away from Great Salt Lake, thus risking the health and well-being of Utahns. Physicians take an oath to do no harm to our patients. Lawmakers should echo that oath by doing no harm to our citizens. Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment demands that the state of Utah implement whatever policies are necessary to reverse the decline of Great Salt Lake and replenish her life-giving waters.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking and living up to that oath. It's a good one. Before we bring the song leaders back, I just want to tell you who they are because they're so awesome. Lauren Wood and Olivia Juarez are very experienced song leaders. Olivia is also a public land conservation advocate who grew up around Great Salt Lake. And during the first vigil on Antelope Island, Olivia read a poem to the lake after riding from here to there on their bike. Impressive, right? I mean, you could clap for that. That's actually something they do all the time, but I was so impressed. And then Lauren is a third-generation river runner with Holiday River Expeditions and an advocate for healthy and wild waterways. And they co-founded Utah Crew, a youth rowing club, which allowed them to spend their adolescence racing along the Lake Salty shoreline. So we're bringing them back for another song.
Hey, all right. If you just got here, I invite you, and you don't have one of these songbooks we got floating around, make a new friend and share one. Or you can open up your Instagram and check out the page of Save Our Great Salt Lake, where the lyrics to this next song that we're going to sing are published for you. The next song is called The Oceans Are Rising, written by Kate Savage. We're going to practice the first verse of this 5-verse song in call and response style so y'all can get a feel for the melody. And then we're going to start from the beginning and sing it all through. Sound good? Yeah! All right. The oceans are rising, they're telling me.
The oceans are rising, they're telling me.
The oceans are rising, but so are we.
The oceans are rising, but so are we.
Rise up, rise up, like the sea.
Yeah? Got it? Yeah, works. All right.
All right, from the top. The oceans are rising, they're telling me. The oceans are rising, but so are we. Rise up, like the sea. The wind's getting stronger, they're telling me. The wind's getting stronger, but so are we. Rise up, like the sea. The lake's getting salty, they're telling me. The lake's getting salty, and so are we. Rise up, like the sea. And the sun's getting angry, they're telling me. The sun's getting angry, but so are we. Rise up, like the sea. And the fires are raging, they're telling me. The fires are raging, but so are we. Rise up, like the sea. Yeah!
Awesome. Thank you. You all sound great. You sound great. Our next speaker is Beverly Harry, activist, water protector, and member of the Navajo Nation. She is currently building the Healing Waters Institute on Numu, Northern Paiute lands in northern Nevada with her daughter Autumn. And she's devoted to protecting water today and for the next 7 generations. Thank you, Beverly, for coming.
Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to see all of these beautiful signs that have been brought forward, all of the wildlife, the avocets, the egrets, the grebes, the gulls. All of them have just really come alive in your activism, your artivism. And I want to let you know that I came from Pyramid Lake, Nevada, which I think everybody knows where that is. It's not here in Utah, it's in Nevada, but on the west side of the Great Basin. I want to begin by acknowledging the work that I do. I'm a land defender, I work as a water protector, and I look at examining the root causes of water pollution, land pollution. and the violence on the land and on women. We draw the intricate map of the intersections of mining, missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, relatives, and our people, and the environmental degradation, with the need to listen to Indigenous people that have traditional ecological knowledge, and the advocating for the rights of Indigenous people. The Great Salt Lake is honored to have its Indigenous communities' voices at its shorelines. The Confederated Tribes of the Goshutes, Skull Valley Indian Tribe, Navajo Nation, Uinta and Ouray reservations, and Eastern Shoshones have ancestors who have connections to these waters and mountains when they were at peace. I mean peace as being alive with trills of katydids, fluttery, waterfowl, and the smell of a sea life past. That is what I mean as being peaceful and having the silence and being respected by all of humanity. Within the Great Basin, to the west are remnants of the Great Lake Lahontan, and here lies the stories of the ancient Lake Bonneville. The Pleistocene epoch is a magnificent one. Our earth was generous with the water during its ice age. As water bodies became isolated, so were the fish species. Fish endemic to Pyramid Lake, Nevada, Utah Lake, and Klamath Falls, Oregon are all related through the species Chasmistes, evolving over 1 million years. This is where simple wonders begin, and the work has to continue for the Chasmistes lieris, the Brevioris, or the Breviori stress, and the Cujas. Some people might regard these as trash fish. Do you have any water?
Water is life.
Water is life. So some of these people, or some people out there, might regard these fish as trash fish. But this has no meaning in my life, because these fish have kept Indigenous communities alive for a long, long time. In regard to the Great Salt Lake and others associated to the Pleistocene epoch and being terminal, there will always be continual evaporation and concentrating salts. These salts exceeding 3,800 parts per million or milligrams per liter can kill a species of Chasmistes. And so freshwater gifts are important to these ecosystems as well. Since the Utah legislature has begun, we ask they respect the public interest and honor the life of water. We ask members of the Assembly and senators to bring forward the work of justice. In closing, I ask for help to bring attention to the issues by supporting Kyle Rowrink and the Great Basin Water Network. To offer donations, because this is hard work. And everybody knows that we can't be silent. We can't always be comfortable with not saying the things that have to be said. Together we can find help to bring fresh water to the lake, But we also need to make sure we do this work so the mining industry doesn't have the ability to siphon the increased freshwater supply that we're offering the Great Salt Lake. We also have to question how we're doing this work, that we're doing this work intentionally for the Great Salt Lake. And possibly a groundwater and freshwater survey would pry open a tough decision box for the legislature. I am for women, and I am for youth, and I am creating hope with you together today, and I say that water is life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Beverly, for coming so far to be here with us today. Thank you for those comments. Our next speaker is an environmental justice activist working with Utah Youth Environmental Solutions. Go ahead and cheer. She is a powerful advocate for clean air, community safety, and environmental justice here in northern Utah. Please welcome Muskan Walia.
I live experiences that straddle the line between pain and access to power. I'm a youth environmental justice organizer, but often join meetings having just harvested herbs with my grandmother while breathing in pollution that caused my mom's lung disease. I've been given access to higher education, been given seats at many tables, but at those tables, deal with not being taken seriously. My parents uprooted their lives to make a home here. I have the legacy of another place in me, but Utah is the only home I've known, and it is now under threat. Noticing the impact of poor air quality encircling my childhood home implored me to ask, how do we cope with the loss of our home? And how can we create solutions that allow people to stay in the home they love? These are questions that force us into action, to give our lives to something greater than ourselves, force us to do things we're scared to do, and show up in places that we're scared to be at. And while it takes the greatest amount of emotional labor to fight against the forces that scare us the most, I organize around issues that impact my community directly, because the people closest to pain should be the closest to power. I come to this because it's unfair to face sickness or displacement from your home because you can't breathe the air where you live. Many people care about the lake because they love to camp and they love to ski and climb and they want to preserve those opportunities. And that's beautiful. And if you came here today because you love those activities, I welcome you. But there's another story, a story of those who never really had a chance, the story of environmental justice. And that's the story I'm telling today. I know, you know, and they know that we are on the verge of ecological collapse, not only in the Great Salt Lake itself, but the land surrounding it. Water diversion from Great Salt Lake inflows is harming our planet, but our people too. And greed, control, and ignorance are keeping our voices for the Great Salt Lake smothered. We are all directly being hurt by the mishandling of our lake, but our indigenous, black, brown, and working class brothers and sisters are in the direct line of fire and are too busy leading this movement that does not acknowledge their loss. People can say they have a commitment to this issue, but we need urgency. And we cannot just act on issues, we must activate those around us. We must rally behind each other and every person. We need to put wind in the sails of ideas that create space for things that may be completely brand new, ideas that push the needle forward to help us feel justice. Foster respect, kindness, and compassion, and encourage us to take care of each other. What we will not do is leave our vulnerable communities behind. Justice must be the centerpiece of our organizing, and it cannot be ignored. We must be willing to forgo individual profit for the common good to really make this movement work. This is not just a loss of recreational and business opportunities. For many who cannot afford to move away, this is the fight for life. and we must support them in their passion and the ways that they choose to mobilize. Our organizing must involve whole communities with dignity for all lives. We must get behind the people who have the most to lose, trust their knowledge and leadership, and lend your power to their goals and tactics. There is no other option, and we will not take no for an answer.
Muskan, thank you so much. Justice must be the centerpiece of our organizing. Thank you. We're so lucky to have these speakers here today to learn so much from. Our next, yes, right? Go ahead, give it up for all the speakers. They're amazing. It's an amazing leadership here today. Our next speaker is Forrest Kutch. An elder, yes, amazing, right? An elder Ute tribal member, born and raised on the Uinta and Ouray Ute Indian Reservation. He's the former director of the Utah Division of Indian Affairs, and he's now devoted to teaching the history of the Native people, protecting the environment, and healing. He's with us today to help protect Great Salt Lake, which he recognizes as an integral part of his home. Forrest, thank you so much for coming.
So nice to be here with you folks. There's a good spirit here. You know, that lake over there used to be ours, the native people of this area. But now, it's all of ours. So my mantra is our sacred lake. So when I ask you whose lake it is, you know what to say. Whose lake is it?
Our sacred lake.
Whose lake is it?
Our sacred lake.
Whose lake is it?
Our sacred lake.
I'll tell you why now. It is a landmark that represents who we are. It is a land of salt surrounded by mountains and high desert. Excuse me. Before the settlers arrived, it was a major trade route and landmark that sometimes required tribute for passage. A place of exchange, not only for salt, but furs, tanned hides, blankets, even pipestone from the Great Lakes. It was a sacred place then, and it is a sacred place to this day, because now we can claim all of our ancestors are buried near here. See? That's what makes it sacred. And it must be protected by us at all costs. Right? Whose lake is it?
Our sacred lake.
Whose lake?
Our sacred lake.
One more time.
Our sacred lake.
Now, this declaration of sacred recognition carries a responsibility. When I say it is our sacred place, it means that you all must join in protecting it from destruction. It means having to confront those, including your relatives, when they engage in destructive practices. I'm speaking directly to powerful groups such as corporations such as Pacific Corp, the Inland folks, the Landport folks, and so many others, especially those who are polluting the land, air, and water around us. So let's do our part and fight the good fight. Whose lake is it?
Our sacred lake.
Who?
Our sacred lake.
One more time.
Our sacred lake.
Thank you.
It's us again.
I want to do it one more time. Whose lake? Our sacred lake. All right. Okay, so the final song that we're singing for the rally is sung to the tune of When the Saints Come Marching In. It's called When the Waves, written by the Vigil Keepers. If you just got here, if you don't have the song lyrics, there are some folks in the crowd with these books, or you can open up the Save Our Great Salt Lake Instagram and find the lyrics to When the Waves. Lauren, remind us, how does the melody go?
Oh, when the waves come waving in, oh, when the waves come waving in, how I want to be with that water, when the waves come waving in. All right.
From the brine shrimp?
Yeah.
Oh, when brine shrimp
Come shrimping in. Oh, when brine shrimp come shrimping in. How I want to be with that water when the brine comes shrimping in. Oh, when the birds
come flocking in.
come flocking in.
Oh, when the birds come
Flocking in. How I want to be with that water when the birds come flocking in. When Great Salt Lake
rises again.
When Great Salt Lake rises again, how I want to be with that water when Great Salt Lake rises again.
Wow, you said so great. You know the lake heard that. You know the lake heard that. And when, yeah, right? And when we sing to the lake, she sings back. So notice, because you'll hear it. She sings back. Our next speaker is beloved author Terry Tempest Williams. I have some other introduction that she shared with me, but I do want to tell you that I had the great privilege of meeting Terry at a vigil on Antelope Island, and her and Brooke showed up on one of the coldest nights with a tent to keep vigil, and they were going to do it. They were just going to sleep out there in like 18 degrees and invite them into the trailer, and it was really like the greatest sleepover ever. And they bivouacked into a little bed that's really meant for one person, and their tiny dog was between them. So I hope you don't mind me offering that story. I'm just so delighted by that image still. We're so lucky to have you with us, Terry. And Terry has known Great Salt Lake in flood and drought. The lake has taught her the power of both presence and absence and the necessity of return. And she is Great Salt Lake's sister in arms. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you, Nan. We love you. And your ministry of presence is inspiring all of us. And to our Indigenous brothers and sisters, thank you for your leadership and the inspired leadership of our youth and our brown and black brothers and sisters. And all of us who are here today, I think we know what this means to the history of our state, because it is urgent. I think about Tim DeChristopher when he said, "This is what love looks like. This is what love looks like." Yeah. Our mother, Lake, is calling us home. She is terminal. Her water body is disappearing in drought, evaporating faster than clouds can promise rain or rivers can rise. Avocets and stilts stand in her shallows, reflecting hope. But this is not enough. We need to bring water back to Great Salt Lake. Yes. This we can do. And if we do nothing, death becomes us. We are the water bearers of the future. Great Salt Lake and the lives she supports depend on us and what we choose to bring. Let it be water, not promises like dust. Let it be actions, creative and bold. Let it be love. Great Salt Lake is a mirror of who we are, shrinking or expanding. Birds are prayers with wings, and we can hear their devotions at the water's edge. We will bring water back to Great Salt Lake. This is our vow. This is our work. Under our watch, we can accept nothing less. Who will forgive us if we do nothing until all we can hear is the silence? We will not be silent. Our lives and the life of Great Salt Lake and all the exquisite species who depend on her are one. Today, I'm an eared grebe, and I've never been prouder. We are calling on our political leaders to be brave, to act, to not lie. We are calling on the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the citizens of Utah to join us in the restoration of Great Salt Lake. These are not just ecological issues or political issues. They are spiritual issues, and it is time that the Mormon community join us, all of us, to care, to act, to change. We are breathing together. We are fierce and compassionate. We are angry. We are loving. We will remain vigilant as we mobilize our love on behalf of Great Salt Lake, our mother. Let us call her name so she can hear us. Great Salt Lake, Great Salt Lake, Great Salt Lake, Great Salt Lake. We will not look away. We will not walk away. We are mobilizing our love. This is our place. This is her place. We will bring water to our mother lake. She will rise. The birds will rise. We will all rise together. This is our sacred vow. We are mobilizing our love.
We are mobilizing our love. I hope we all go home with that just filling our heart. Thank you so much, Terry. Before I introduce our last speaker, I'm just going to acknowledge the groups that came together, this amazing coalition that came together to create this, to gather us here today. And as I read these, I want to actually invite you to really notice, you might recognize some, maybe you're part of one and you want to cheer. I'll ask you to withhold the applause to the end because it's a long and awesome list. And if you haven't heard of someone on this list, maybe be curious about the untold hours of invisible labor they've put in, how we're all this tapestry. And notice how we've transcended previous divides to gather at the shore. So these are our partners for this rally. Grow the Flow is the first. Sorry, don't cheer. I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we'll cheer really loud. Great Basin Water Network, Center for Biological Diversity, the Utah chapter of the Sierra Club, Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, Utah Youth for Environmental Solutions, River Riding Collective, Making Waves for Great Salt Lake Artists Collaborative, Sageland Collaborative, the Utah Rivers Council, Great Salt Lake Audubon, Youth Coalition for Great Salt Lake, Brawley Arts, Heal Utah, Salt Lake City Air Protectors, Stop the Polluting Port, Great Salt Lake Interfaith Action Coalition, the Utah Food Coalition, and thank you to Chris Vardanega for the wonderful poster design, the beautiful poster. Yeah, now it's time to share. Right? Yeah, give yourselves a hand. Give yourselves a hand. This completely amazing. This movement is unprecedented in many ways. One is the way we're transcending so many tired divides to meet at the shore, and another is that it really is defined by love, and it's noticeable. People can see it from across the globe. So we're doing something new together, and something new is required, and here we are. I'm really pleased to introduce our last speaker. You're going to know him in a different way, but I'm going to tell you that I recognize him as a poet. Ben Abbott is a lifelong Utahn and professor of ecology at BYU, and in this movement, he is a beacon of truth and love. As the director of Grow the Flow, Ben is committed to bringing our community together to rescue the lake we all depend on. Thanks for being here, Ben.
Wow. Wow. Who was here last year? Let's hear. Who's new? Who wasn't here? things feel different. It's only been a year, and yet I'm feeling a really different feeling today. It's something that Terry has described, I think, that's something deeper than hope. For me, I call it faith. Faith is believing we can make a better world, but it is more than just belief. Faith is the state of being where we face that fear, that dread that I think many of us, maybe all of us feel, and we let it be overcome by confidence. But state is not just an act of being. Faith, sorry. Faith is the ability to speak in English. Faith is an act of creation. It's where we mobilize that love, where we tear down the dam that has been holding back that love, and we let it flow out and heal our hearts and our community. Great Salt Lake needs us, right? And I have been taught, and I believe, for as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. And we're seeing those works. Is our faith dead? No! You prove it. Our body is alive and our faith is sizzling hot. Last year, during the legislative session, a lot of us felt consternation and disappointment. We didn't even set a target, right, for where we wanted the lake to be. And yet what just happened a few days ago? The state has set a target to restore Great Salt Lake above 4198 to 4205. Now, a target is only as good as what we do after setting it. But are we courageous enough? Are we sincere enough to thank the legislature for this step? I think that we should thank them. Thank you, legislature. And so now, it's a long road ahead, right? This is only the beginning. But I have faith that we're going to do this together. And so what we're going to do is ask you, there's this giant QR code. It's probably the world's largest QR code. Thank you. And it's being held up by the world's tallest Great Salt Lake supporter, Jake Dreyfus. So scan that QR code, because right now our legislators are considering, can we afford to do something symbolic this session? No, we can't. No. And they need to know that. They need to have our support, our love. The thing that I feel today, as Nan just said, those tired divisions. Those divisions which are not real, right? We are all the same species. We are all of the same blood. And this is not only talking about humans, but all of the life in the watershed, all of the life on this planet. And right now is our moment. And so over the next few days, not over the next few weeks, over the next few days, we invite you, reach out to your legislators. Thank them for what they have done. Ask them what they are going to do next and what you can do to help. Get involved. We have lobby days each day. You can, all of the information's at the calls to action. But what I promise you, what I know, is that this is a true watershed moment.
Yes, watershed moment!
And so I'm going to say, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? And when do we want it? Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Calls to action, everyone. The biggest QR code in the world is brought to you today. And there, the time is now. The time is now. Okay. before we wrap up, we're going to conclude by making a collective offering to the lake. And I know I, suggested that you might put your phones away, but on your phones, on Instagram or in the songbook, there's a poem. It's the conclusion to the invocation of a poem called Irreplaceable that was written by over 400 people coming together at the lakeshore from the first vigil, continuing to the second vigil, this amazing poem that is perhaps the longest love letter to any lake in the world. And this is just the little beginning, and this is the part when we say it together in a minute. I'll just tell you that I think the lake really gave this to us. It's not that often that something comes to me very directly, but this felt like 3 years ago, the lake imagining us coming, and the lake imagining the praise that would flow and the restoration that would begin and the replenishment that we're going to bring. So before we get to that, I do just want to, again, thank the artists and all of you that are holding puppets and waving waves. We'd love to have you come back and help us keep vigil. We're here at the Capitol, at that corner over there, every morning, Monday through Friday, for the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 30 days, at 8 a.m., you'll find us by looking for waves. In the morning, we just got to have the waves, and the waves are out. We silently walk them around the Capitol. We stop at the west-facing patio to sing a song to the sea, and we walk them back. So it's just a very devotional, contemplative kind of way to start your morning. You'll meet some awesome people, so come walk the waves with us. If you're the more jubilant type, clue, if you're holding a puppet, you probably are. Come at 5. At 5 every evening, we're there putting on these costumes that you see here, and we are celebrating the species, as Ben suggested, all the life the lake sustains. It's not just human life, right? So we're bringing the species here. Terry's grebe will be here. So you could wear the grebe that Terry is wearing right now. Wouldn't that feel special? That's an opportunity. So every evening, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m., everyone is invited. Everyone is invited. So please come to those things. And today, just to make sure we have those puppets, that you'll return them to the corner they came from. Our puppet handlers will be so grateful. I just want to say before the poem, we gathered here today as instigators. Who are instigators? I'll tell you, they're us for one thing, but they're ordinary, broken-hearted people who show up time and time again. And this is a pattern that is trackable. I read about it in an amazing book called River Republic. Some of you might know this book. Dan McCool, who's an emeritus professor at the U, wrote it. This is the pattern. This is what instigators do. The power lies in our devotion, and so we do transcend these tired divides. We bump elbows, we keep going. We stumble, we keep going. We stumble toward each other, by the way, and we forgive each other. We persist, we gather. And what happens? Instigators restore rivers, protect wetlands, bring down the dams. We can and we will replenish a sea, our sacred lake. Our sacred lake. Our sacred lake. Our sacred lake. It's so beautiful to say that together. Thank you all so much. Okay, this is our very end. Are you ready? So I'm going to actually read the whole poem the lake gave, and you can just imagine the lake dreaming her own restoration, which is, I think, what this poem is about. And when I get to the last stanza, that's what you have in front of you, I hope. And I hope what we'll do, I'll pause, and we'll turn towards the sea, because we're really offering it to the lake directly. All right, are you willing to do this with me? Yeah, thank you. Let me make sure I've got it open. Because once I start, it's like the train is leaving the station. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Okay. Great. When praise began to flow, we watched the water rise along both sides of the causeway. 11 islands recovered their autonomy. Microbialites sighed with relief. When praise began to flow, the dust subsided. Metals resettled on the seafloor. Arsenic and mercury were lulled back to sleep, blanketed once more by the great weight of water. When praise began to flow, 3 rivers rushed forth unhindered as greed relinquished its grasp, and fat flakes of snow tumbled into the great body, becoming clouds, drifting into peaks, making snow and more snow, and then creeks, then rivers, then lake effect, also known as sustenance, also known as snow, and the waters did not desert us when praise began to flow. When praise began to flow, we returned to 4th grade field trips, to picnics run amok, spirited floats and salt-encrusted bodies. Boats bobbed back to their docks. We recalled how to sail. We could taste our first kiss. We remembered a day we didn't die. When praise began to flow, we gathered and told these stories. Our eyes shone with love and even reverence, which began to grow when praise began to flow. And we sorrowed over the way we had shunned her irreplaceable body and vowed never again to part from her company. And the love we felt for each drop, making a way to her whale heart, became unfathomable. When praise began to flow, we thirsted for the names of birds. We learned the mouthfeel of the words grebe, avocet, willet, pelican, curlew, stilt. We observed their long dives, sudden swerves, and bright eyes. We noted their cries and habits, tracing murmurations. We drew love beyond naming, and now it's all of us. When praise began to flow, we felt the genesis of our feathers. We felt water return to the sea of ourselves. We felt a swell in the lake of ourselves. We felt the surge of our rivers. We felt tidal. We felt primal. We fell with the snow. We grew ocean-hearted. We began to know we had never been separate and thus could not be parted. When praise began to flow, we love you, Great Salt Lake. Thank you, everybody. Feels like we should have like a 4-hour party now. It's amazing. Thank you so much for coming. We love you. You did it. You did it. Oh, in the corner. Oh, if you have, I'm soft. How'd that happen? Hello? That's interesting. I'm glad.